Hey everyone, welcome back to the Now at Night podcast with your host Chris and of course my lovely co-host.
Naser, hello everyone.
It's great to be back. I
Yeah,
think we have certainly seen a lot of movement both in the technology space and recently we just had a lot of really cool costumes around LinkedIn. I don't know if you saw that, Nasser, there was a lot of really cool and interesting costumes, a little sprinkle of humor there, but
absolutely.
I'm really excited to have you introduce our next co-host on the podcast.
Absolutely. So this is actually very interesting and very exciting because for the second week in a row, or the second month in a row, we have an amazing guest from the ServiceNow family. And for this week, we have Wendy Swank on our call. So welcome, Wendy.
Hi guys. Well, thanks for having me. When you guys reached out and invited me, I was so excited. I've never done something like this. So thanks for thinking of me.
Of course, thanks for being our second, second ServiceNow guest on the podcast. So welcome to our
Nice.
little ServiceNow family podcast.
So cute. I love it.
Yeah.
Everyone,
Just a quick reminder before we start. I feel like I have to do this every time now, Chris, whenever we interview someone
yeah.
from now. All of the opinions that are going to be discussed here, even though we are ServiceNow employees, we're not making any recommendation directly to ServiceNow or against ServiceNow. It just happens that the three of us work for ServiceNow, and yeah, this is our safe harbor.
Absolutely. And again, we're all friends here. It's our friendly neighborhood tech enthusiasts from all different realms and bits and bytes and gadgets, but we certainly want to create a safe space, especially when we talk about anything related to work. So again, that disclaimer is here for the safety of all of us,
Mhm.
but we'll also keep it fun as well as engaging. So really appreciate everyone who's listening on.
Absolutely. So let's start with this, Wendy. Tell us about yourself, who you are, how did you end up at ServiceNow, your background, tech, not tech related. This is actually, I think, the first time that we get to have a conversation using voice rather than chat. So it's me actually getting to know you along our listeners. So please tell us more about yourself.
Okay, I'd love to. So my journey into really the workforce, I think was a little I guess interesting to me, maybe to everyone else to be like, yeah, that's boring. But to me, it was interesting because I went to school, went to college, and when I was doing my master's, how I specifically got into tech,
Mhm.
my last semester, I'm with my, I don't know what they forget what they call them, guidance counselor or whatever,
Yeah.
picking courses. And I think he kind of knew like this is just a check the box exercise. Like you have to pick your courses. Am I really so passionate about like lone wolf terrorism? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
But you have to like pick these courses, and I needed one or two more. And he suggested doing, I honestly forget which cyber ones they were, but they were cyber ones, cyber related ones. This
Mhm.
is in 2013, mind
Nice.
you. And he said, you know what, do this because, quote, I do remember this part, it'll
Mhm.
look good someday. And I said, yeah, sure. Like literally thinking like, I don't even know why I'm doing something like cyber related because I want to be a police officer my
Oh,
whole
wow.
life. That's what I want to do.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So take us a step back here.
Yeah.
What were you majoring in?
So it was called administration of justice. It was, a criminal justice
Yeah.
basically. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
all my courses were like policing in America, the constitutional law, like it was all like
Huh.
hardcore, want to be a police officer. I want to be a detective my whole life, literally from when I was in fourth grade.
Is there a
And
reason behind it? Like, do you come from a family where,
no, no,
okay,
no,
okay. It
you
was just a
know,
happened.
just like I
Well,
maybe the middle child in me, like about fairness and equality and
Yes.
justice.
wow.
Yes. I'm the
Yes,
youngest child. I can relate.
Detective Swank on the case. I love it.
exactly. Yeah. PI swank.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
can't do the crime. What's it? You can't do the time, don't do the crime.
Don't do the crime.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. That was
Love
me.
it. Love it.
So I had no, I just wanted, I don't know why I loved it so much, but I love like Law and Order, SVU. Like
Mhm.
I love those shows. I really, that was going to
Oh
be my
yeah,
life.
me too.
I took like
Mhm.
civil service exams. I'm in Massachusetts, and so you have to go through that if you want to be a police officer.
Nice.
For most cities and towns, some have like a private one you can go through. But I did that all of my college. I was doing like police tests and
Wow.
doing like the mile run and the push-ups and the pull-ups and all this stuff. Yeah. And
Well,
so I took these courses that I thought would just look good. And then I get my degree, whatever, I'm out of college. And it was again 2013. So the war in Afghanistan, all the soldiers were just coming back,
Mm-hmm.
and they get seniority and extra points added to the civil service exam that,
Okay.
people in Massachusetts take. And so even I think I got like a 98 or 99, not to brag.
Yes.
I did pretty good on it.
Humble
But
brag.
Humble
a
brag.
little
It's okay.
humble brag. But it got me
Yeah.
nowhere. My point is it got me absolutely nowhere because, rightfully so, the veterans they get more points as they should.
Okay. That makes sense.
And if you had like a family member in law enforcement, so if you were a veteran and had, someone in your family in law enforcement, you could have like a 102 on this test. And so I remember the exam results came out, and I
Hmm.
was like in the 30th, like one of the 30th females in the whole state. So I was pretty high
Wow.
up there, but still,
Yeah.
like, you know, they don't take many from
Yeah.
this test. And there
Uh-huh.
were a slew of, men ahead of us, ahead
Uh-huh.
of the females, but I was like the 34th or 35th female on the list. But again,
Okay.
that did me no good. So I ended up working at my city's dispatch center doing emergency management dispatching.
Okay.
And that was okay. But to be quite honest, it didn't pay a lot because it's a union job. It just
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
pay a lot. I did get a little pension though, which is so funny. Um, so I Googled hot cybersecurity jobs in Boston. Literally
Mm.
was my Google
Wow.
search. And I came up with, at the time it was called Bit9.
Mm-hmm.
Bit9 Carbon Black was hiring a sales engineer. And I just was like reading the job description. I'm like, oh, I feel like I could do this. And I, it was a struggle. I applied, I got in, I got the job, and that's how I started. I was an associate sales engineer at what was first Bit9, then they merged with Carbon Black, and then just became Carbon Black. And then of course acquired by VMware. So I did that for, I think it was 2 years. And then I left and went to a threat intelligence company, Recorded Future, for about 4 years.
Nice.
And then most recently was at Sneak
Okay.
doing business development for four
Nice.
years and
Nice.
specifically left SE World to build my business acumen because I know you guys are SEs too, but
Yeah.
I was in a terrible habit. I don't know if you guys do the same of, you do your demo, your POC, demo to PO, you kind of do your thing and then you go on mute and start multitasking. So I never
Mm.
listened to the business side of the relationship or the conversation. And so I did not have any business skills really. And not that I'm going to go to get an MBA now at all, but I do feel from being in business development for 4 years, I'm much better off. And then I landed at ServiceNow after
Nice.
being a tech partner. So how I knew ServiceNow at Recorded Future and Sneak, I worked with ServiceNow in the SecOps BU, the same BU that I work in today, on the
Nice.
partner side. So I had that experience for about 8 years, and I became familiar with folks, here in the BU, and it helped during my interview process that I had connections and had folks who could vouch for, that I wasn't a terrible person.
That's awesome. So actually, I have a question for you here. I feel like during your career, you kind of jumped from being in a small company to a startup situation to something that's got acquired, and now you're working for ServiceNow. So how do you really, like, I want to say to our listeners, how would you explain the differences between working for something that's on a smaller scale versus a big scale, a startup versus a big established company? What are the pros and cons between all of these, especially when we're talking about solution engineering right now or solution sales or sales engineering? One of the major things whenever you're looking at job posting is seeing that there are a lot in the startup space versus
Mhm.
so little in the established companies. And even the ones that are established would usually require you to have some sort of experience. So a lot of the people will kind of feel like they're forced to start with a smaller scale company or a startup. So how do you compare the experiences between the two?
That's a real good question. And from my experience, I think having both experiences is great. Like
Hmm.
having worked at really small companies where I was at Recorded Future, I was like number 90 something, and they grew
Hmm.
to, like 1200, and they recently got bought by MasterCard, which is amazing. And,
Yeah.
Sneak, I was, number 200 something, and, they grew as well. At
Mhm.
ServiceNow, was in the 25,000 number. I mean, they have so many. So I love having had both sides of the coin there. The
Mhm.
major differences are maybe some of the speed and the agileness that teams can move. And, it's funny, it even came up today with some of my colleagues is I have to take that small company brain. I have to shut it off sometimes of like, well, why can't I just text the CEO? Because I've had, Bill is not gonna ever
Yeah.
probably have my number. Um, but my last two companies, I literally could just text the CEO, and they knew me by name and like knew about my family, and I love that side of it too.
Interesting.
You just feel like connected, and I went to a small school, for example. I'm kind of like a small town type of girl,
Nice.
but the cons of that, if there are, I don't know if I'd say cons, but you know, I
The
think
other side of the equation, let's say.
yeah, maybe is,
Yeah.
being at a place like ServiceNow, I'm exposed to, I just think like bigger clients, for example, and
Right.
maybe bigger problems to solve. And, things are just at scale, right? So
Mhm.
I'm fortunate that I'm, where I'm at now. I really wanted a bigger company experience, but I love the small company too. I just think it depends on, what you're really looking for and what fills your cup in that way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to echo off of that, honestly. I think that's a really good transition into one of the questions I have. And I get this question asked a lot, Wendy. I'm also an active member myself as a college mentor for my alumni at my college and my university. So a lot of questions that I get from undergrads and students and people that come into the space, whether they're new to technology just in general, or they're really focused, hyper focused around cybersecurity, and they're looking to, perform in those particular industries. What would you recommend just based on your trajectory? And you've had this, fascinating hybrid of, the personal approach as well as this really incredible, professional, kind of series of events that you've gone through in your career and your tenure. Do you recommend undergrads or new people in the space obtain certifications in their field, or do you have some type of recommendation for those undergraduates or early career developers looking to get into this space just based on your experience and the timeline of events you've gone through? I'd love to hear um, from your purview what you would recommend the
Mhm.
best place to kind of start for someone who's just getting in here and essentially really muddying themselves up, getting dirty,
Yeah.
rolling their sleeves and saying, okay, look, this is truly what I'm
Mhm.
aspiring and where I'm hoping to cast the net, knowing it's a very wide net that's out there in this space.
Yeah. You know, I think certifications never hurt, right? Like you're as a hiring manager, I
Yeah.
would hope you would look at them. Well, that doesn't mean any, like who would ever say like
Yeah.
think that it means nothing? Like
Yeah.
clearly, like they took the time, they went through it. Like those tests are not easy, they're long. I
Mhm.
know, Nasser, I think you just got your CISSP. Congrats to
Yeah.
Yeah.
you. Like
That's
congrats
weight,
on that. And
yeah,
so
weight off my shoulders. Trust me.
yeah, I have the CSSP version of that, and it's, as you guys know, like they're no small feat. It's no
Mhm.
joke, right?
Right.
Mhm.
But I have to now the other side of that is I like to look at just a work ethic. Like can they grind? And not
Mhm.
that I think a job needs to always be a grind. I don't want that to be the message either, but
Right. Right.
I'd rather hire someone or be colleagues or teammates with someone. I don't care if they have a college degree. I don't care how many certs they have. Are they a good person?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do they do good
Love
work?
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like because all that other stuff, like the
Humanistic.
certification, yeah, I mean, those are feathers in the cap for sure. Don't get me wrong. And I guess when you're just looking at, I don't know what a recruiter would say, and like someone in like like that type of role or like hiring who has to look at
Right.
all these thousands of resumes, like what stands out anymore.
Mhm.
But for me, you can have 100 degrees. If you're not like a good person to work with, if you don't take accountability, if you don't like, want to collaborate and do things like, it's just tough to be teammates with someone like that. I'd rather someone who, you know, worked blue collar jobs and just like works and has an ethic there and just wants to have fun and get things done.
Absolutely. And let me ask you this question. So now you are more on the management side of solution consulting. So I bet that if there's an opening on your team and there are a bunch of different resumes that have been submitted, one of the major hurdles that I feel a lot of people run into is the experience part. And especially when we are hiring for someone who's more of a senior role, usually the experience part is not going to be immediately translated into maybe they have done solution consulting before, maybe they were practitioners or something along these lines. But what would you say are things that freshly graduates should be adding to their resume to translate or to kind of compensate for the
Mhm.
lack of experience there? Like, for example, when I was graduating school, I remember one of the things that were kind of basically told to me, or the message that I got from my professors or the career center was that maybe add in the project that you worked on or
Mhm.
what you've done during these projects and have that be a translation to the actual basically experience requirement on a job application. Are there any specific things that you would look for, like volunteering stuff, or are there anything basically that compensate for the lack of experience that some of the um,
Yeah.
I forgot the word. Basically, people who are applying for that job
Yeah.
would
Yeah,
have.
exactly. Yep.
It's funny, this I was actually just talking to someone early in career, and the same, like the chicken and egg of how do I get experience? Because you see a job posting and they want 10 years of experience, but if you don't let me work the job, I
Right.
can't get that
How can I get
experience.
it?
And yeah, and
A
that
double-edged
always
sword.
it's so frustrating. And I remember being in that same boat, when I was first, before I did my luxurious Google search, hot companies in Boston. I in lieu of working experience, because you can't help when you were born, right? That's what I always say. We can't help it. Um, I think, to your point, Nasser, like a project to show, hey, here's a problem, here's how I solved it, and here was the outcome. That is a good approach. But good old-fashioned recommendations and have like networking is a big thing because you never
Absolutely.
know who someone knows, right? Like
Right.
networking, getting yourself out there, maybe joining those type of, and I know they're kind of cheeky, like the networking and happy hour groups, like those type of like community things, but they
Hmm.
can pay off.
Hmm.
But I had also recommended to this individual, what about like LinkedIn referrals where someone who knows how you work and
Great
knows how you
call out.
operate, yeah,
Hmm.
can comment on that. And so, putting someone's number on your resume, like, hey, call this person is one thing, but already having, hey, I worked with this person on this project and here's why and how they were impactful, something like that.
Hmm.
That to me can be a good in lieu of experience because you can't help that experience you have if you're a certain age.
Yeah.
But who can comment on your character and
Hmm.
what type of addition
Yeah.
or asset
Well
you'd
said.
be to a team?
Absolutely. Yeah. And do you feel that there is also some, for the lack of better words, I would say, kind of a line between if you are an applicant who is a cis male versus a female or non-binary or any of that sort, especially in the solution consulting fields and the security fields? Is there any tips or guidance you'd give to
Mhm.
someone who might not specifically self-identify as a male?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's obvious, you go to any conference, right? You go to Black Hat, like the major security conferences, Black Hat, RSA, it's mostly men, right? It's
Absolutely.
mostly men, mostly Caucasian men, and that's great. That's fine. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, like, do I love female applicants and do I love, applicants who have diversity, but not only of like how they look, but also how they think? Yes, I love that. But at the end of the day, I always would again rather hire and have a colleague or a teammate who will just, I always think like put the customer first, then the company, then yourself. So if
Hmm.
they follow those, I know it sounds corny, but if they follow those, kind of like check those boxes, are they
Hmm.
like a good person to work with? I don't really care what you look like and where you come from. And well, I don't
Right.
care about any of those things. Like just
Yeah.
be, and over my years of working, I've had some colleagues and I've said, they'd be a great neighbor, but they're not a great colleague. And it's not about them as a person. They just don't do good work or they
Yeah.
don't like, you're picking up the slack and that's okay to pick up the slack. Sometimes I think there's a give and take there. But when you find yourself like it's not a 50-50 relationship. It's like a 90-10 and you're always doing the 90. That gets old and that burns you out. So I want a colleague or someone on my team who will do good work and I don't care about anything else
Hmm.
personally.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, one of the biggest thing is that you have to be a good human being before
Yes,
anything else, like before your self-identity, before what you're
100%.
interested in, before what are your work ethics. I feel like that all also depends on who you are as a person. That can really be translated. I remember even my mentor, Mark, our first guest, one of the things that he taught us early on in the academy was whenever you're having a conversation with someone, smile while you're talking, even if they can't really see you, because the smile, believe it or not, can be carried on your voice. Like pretend you smile or smile right now while you're talking. Whoever is hearing you can actually listen or see that smile through your voice. So I don't know. I feel like things like that can carry on even if you don't really have the experience or um yeah, who you are. Yeah.
There's also this other quality, and it's funny, I've told, early in career folks about this too. The fine line of, and it's hard when you're younger and you don't have the experience, but if you have confidence in what you have done, not cocky, like that fine line of don't ever be cocky, but if you have confidence in, again, I don't care what the X is, just if you were good at something, I was the best lawnmower at the company because I did landscaping. I don't care. But just if
Hmm.
you have confidence in that and you can relay that confidence, I think there's a little bit of like the fake it till you make it can come in. If
Hmm.
you have the propensity to learn, so like getting on the job, it's not going to always be easy, but if the sink after what's it? Sink after you swim, swim after you whatever those whatever that's saying it. But if you can swim eventually, even if there is some sinking involved,
Hmm.
that is great. And that's all part of it too. I don't think I would hope most managers, when you get hired to a new position, they're not hoping for perfection or ever wanting perfection. It's that, there's that learning curve and hopefully there's patience. I've been super grateful for the patience that ServiceNow and my management has offered me because it's a lot. It's a lot coming into a big company, a big team. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and so that's not to go without stating, but as long as someone is willing to put in the time and has, confidence that they can do this if they have good, support around them, that's
Hmm.
another quality. But there, I'll say in my first job, Carbon Black, hope you guys know, I was faking a lot of it. Like faking it until you make it because you have to, because who knows how to be a sales engineer when you first get started? Like there actually are books about it now, but there weren't always books about how to do that job. So it's just really a lot of on the job learning and training.
Absolutely. And you basically joined ServiceNow as a manager. So how was that experience for you were you a manager at Sneak?
I was, yes, I
Okay.
was, yes.
So how would you compare being a solutions sales or sales engineer versus being a manager of a bunch of different SCs? I feel like that's
Whew.
an entirely new field.
It is, and it's the jury's still the jury's still out on that one. No, I'm joking, but the difference between my management experience here so far and in previous management roles is and I was very transparent about this coming in.
Hmm.
And honestly, it was one of my fears would be too strong a word, but apprehension maybe be a better word. I
Mhm.
have mostly managed earlier in career folks,
Okay.
or if they weren't earlier in career, I had more tenure at the company.
Hmm.
So, they might have been, much older than me, but I had been there longer. And so I knew who to ask, where to go to, knew the product, blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely.
So now I come here and I guess my leg up and the one thing that I was like, oh, I do have this, I guess, is at when I was a partner of ServiceNow at my last two companies, at Recorded Future, I architected solutions like the Recorded Future app for ServiceNow. So I was very familiar with VR and SIR because I worked, on those products. So I felt good
Okay.
about that. At Sneak, I was the manager, actually a little incestual, but I owned the relationship between Sneak and ServiceNow. So I continued to
Oh,
work with the security BU.
nice.
Um, so I felt like that gave me some comfort, to be honest.
Hmm.
But the it was, and it's not a struggle again. Too, that's has maybe a negative connotation, but it is a challenge, I'll say, to come here and be not only a new manager, but everyone on my team has been at ServiceNow for a long time. They're all
Mhm.
OGs. They're all super senior,
Mhm.
and obviously, I don't go around asking people's ages, but they're all older than me too, which is
Yeah.
um, that I hope their experience is good. You know, mine has been good, great.
Yeah.
But I think I would, I'll be honest, I think, you know, if I was my current age and I had a manager come on who was much younger than me and a first-time manager at the company, I'd be like, "Ugh," like just hope she doesn't get in my way. And so I'm trying to not get in people's way. But I also, the challenge has been for me personally is I want my team to trust me and to find me valuable. And that just takes time. It's an organic process and you can't speed up the clock there. So
Yeah.
I've been trying to have that happen just by my actions and by the way I operate. But it just takes time. And someone had joked to me, "Oh, that's who's on your team? Oh, they won't want to talk to you." Like they're just basically like they're just not they're gonna ignore you because they're just off being senior and pros and they don't really need you. And so it's hard to feel not needed. And you know, coming from, you know, teams of folks who were again early in career, they need you. They need that coaching. They need that mentorship in a way. And my team is so senior, they really don't. So finding other ways to be valuable to them has been a personal challenge, but it's the opportunity I have. So I
Yeah.
look forward to it. I continue to look forward to it. I
No,
wonder if their experience would be similar, but mine's been
yeah,
good.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard great things about you as a manager, so that's just a testament of how great you are. And I feel like that's what makes a good manager, is understanding the style of management that is needed for the employees that they're working with.
Right.
It's not that all managers have to be there and be the senior individual who basically knows all of the answers and can navigate everything. Sometimes what I need from a manager is just someone to check and see if everything is okay. Maybe that's literally all I need.
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
if someone just maybe
Yeah.
I am great to see, but I can't really communicate my thoughts when I'm writing them and I need to run my thoughts with someone. I can rely on the manager for that, or someone to just basically check on my progress or my, especially at ServiceNow, like a quarterly growing conversation and how to navigate through all of that. That's what I would need from a manager. So understanding those needs is really what makes a good manager a good manager. And it's clear that from what I've heard, is that you've been a great manager so far, and I bet that you'll continue to be so.
I wonder who paid you, but that's all good. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to flip the script a little bit, Wendy, and see if there's maybe some fun hobbies our listeners don't know about. That could be you're a famous singer, actor that we don't
Oh
uh,
gosh.
perhaps you know another language. Would love to just share with our listeners if there's some fun, outside or inside activity you like to do and cultivate through the many different experiences that you shared with us today. Would love to hear what that might be.
So I am smiling and laughing at this
Love
only
it.
because um, I find, you know, like when you've had those like icebreaker activities or fun facts
Yeah.
about you, I never can think of them in like at the time. And then, you know, a week later, whatever, I'm like, I should have put this as a fun fact. And I told myself I was going to start a list on my phone of fun facts about myself so I can like learn about who I am. Because I always forget in the moment. And then I'm like, wow, I'm actually a really boring person.
Yeah, we're all
But
guilty of that.
in but in my defense, I do have two small children. So I have a son who is 3, and then I have another son who just turned 1. So I'm in the thick of it in terms
Oh,
of
wow.
that. Yeah, it's a lot. And so I don't find that I have a ton of hobbies. I'll just say I will get to a hobby that I just started. But I find myself to be very boring right now because I'm just so focused on kids and I love being a mom, so I should throw that, you know, little asterisk out there, kind of obligatory statement. But um my hobby. So it kind of came out of, you know, having children, but I was trying to figure out what to do for my first son's birthday party for goodie bags. And I've been to a lot of birthday parties because now, you know, I have a lot of friends and well, that sound came off weird. I have so many friends, but I have friends who have young children. And so I've been to a lot of birthday parties since my oldest has been born, well, past 3 years. And you get the goodie bags and they're always full of crap. Like the bubbles, the chalk, the candy that
The
like
crowns, the pencil,
yeah, like this kind of
The
this
glitter.
stuff, the
yeah, just
glitter. Yeah,
like stupid stuff. And some of it is a choking hazard. So right away you have to like go in and
most of
like,
it.
yeah, throw it out. Okay. So you guys get what I'm saying. And so I wanted to be different. I was like, I want a goodie bag that's like valuable. You look at us, SEs, always about the value and how
Mhm.
we relay that story. Um, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So here's like the ROI. So what I decided is I want to make cookies, but like a professional cookie maker. Like
Nice.
the kind of sugar cookies that you look at and you're like, wow, that looks really good, but they also taste good. So
Yeah.
I bought all the stuff. And one of my girlfriends is like does this. She doesn't sell them, I don't think, but she could. Like people would buy her cookies.
Hmm.
So I got like I did a little like, teach me your ways type of, conversation. So she told me like, here's the recipe, here's all this stuff. So I bought all the ingredients, I read the recipe, all that. So I did a trial run 2 weeks ago. The cookies themselves came out great. My frosting, I've learned all these, you have to flood the cookie, all this stuff.
Don't even know
So
what that means.
I know I've been learning. It's like you outline it with royal icing and then you flood the cookie to
Interesting.
kind of, yeah, it's really cool actually. And so
Yeah.
my trial run, the cookies were good. The frosting was terrible. I knew what I did wrong though. And so for my son's birthday this past week or 2 weekends ago at this point, I did another run. I literally, sorry, manager, I had to take, well, she knew. I took a day off from work because I had to have time because you have to like make the dough, then make the cookies, and they have to sit, and then you have to do like 3 different sessions of frosting because it's
Mhm.
they have to like harden and whatever. So, um, I should send you guys pictures. They actually came out. I don't know if people would buy them. They weren't that good looking, but the taste profile was
Taste.
there. The taste was there and they did look pretty good. And so I want to get really good at it. So someday I someone could buy these cookies. My business name is called Sweets by Swank.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
thought
I
that was
love
I
that.
love
thought that
that.
was cute. Yep.
Yeah.
Start making the mouse pads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
actually phenomenal. You should
Ex
definitely get at least the domain,
Yeah.
yes.
buy this,
Mark
get a
that.
website.
Sweets by Swank. Yeah, I need my sister's husband is a graphic designer, so I'm definitely gonna
Oh,
hit him
fun.
up to like
Nice.
make me a cool design. But that is gonna be my new hobby. I want to make cookies, so like I don't have to think of like what do I do for this goodie bag? And oh,
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
son
that's
has
brilliant.
yeah, it's gonna really be good ROI in terms of emotional investment because the next
Yeah,
time there's like something at school that need daycare that needs to be done, I'm just gonna make cookies. I have an automatic
Exactly.
thing now, so.
Mhm.
Cookie making is now my new thing, and then I am a professional vacuumer.
Ah,
I
I
love to
love that.
vacuum. Yes, I know it sounds like a weird
I
thing,
love
but
that. No,
it's
trust me, I so relate on that. Yeah.
I love cleaning and I have 3 Roombas and 3 Dysons, and
Oh,
they get used because I just love a clean environment. It keeps me calm.
that is
Yeah,
incredible.
note to self, she's crazy, so you can put that down too.
Oh, trust me, I actually have medically diagnosed OCD, and one of my triggers is cleanliness.
Hmm.
I literally clean religiously, and I have different equipments for different things. And vacuums are like the top of my list. I genuinely look up vacuums and the reviews around them and the deals that they have on them because I'm fascinated by the world of vacuuming. It's incredible.
Oh my God. Did we just become best friends? Because that is
Yeah, I mean,
literally like my number
right.
one.
Whenever the laser one came out, the one that allows you to see the specks of dirt, I was like, oh my God.
wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. And I
Oh
have
my
a
God.
vacuum mounted on my wall, so that's cool. I like cleanliness. I'm a little OCD when it comes to that, so definitely part of the vacuum gang squad.
Yeah.
We have to make like a Teams channel or like some
Yeah.
sort of
Probably do. Yeah. I think we should do that. We'll have to come up with a fun,
like
corny name.
like they suck, but
Yeah.
like it's like the vacuums.
The sock sucks or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. I
That's
love
good.
it. I
That's
love it.
awesome. So, a question here. How would you say that you navigate the balance between being a manager at ServiceNow, being your own Wendy yourself, who's working on herself and her
Mhm.
hobbies, and also being a mother? I feel like this is honestly a very tough thing to do. I always honestly think about like, how much effort and honestly I can't even put it in words. Like I'm always admiring the people who are parenting while they are working because I can barely parent myself and my
Yeah.
job doing
There
what I
is.
do. So
Well
I'm
said. Well
always
said.
fascinated by you guys and what you do. So can you talk us a little bit about the work-life balance that you have and how you've gotten to it?
Yeah. I'll give one glimpse that before I had kids, if I had a 9 o'clock call, I could easily, like that was my first demo, whatever. I literally could wake up at 8:30.
Hmm.
I would like eat real quick, get ready, especially if I wasn't even going to be on camera. So imagine, like, I think of that life now and I'm like, wow, I had it so good and I didn't even know. Like
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
My days are very different now. I'm up
Yes.
usually at like 5:30 or 6, and I'll say from that time until I sit down at my desk, which is about, 8, 8:30, I wonder, I should probably look at my watch, like how many steps I take and just like the energy that I extend, whatever word it is.
Mhm.
Because it's just insane getting two young kids up, fed, dressed, out the door. It's just by the time I sit down, I'm like, oh my God, this is so nice. It's so quiet. It's relaxing. We're coming to work has been a relaxing part of my day. And then, then it becomes unrelaxing as you start going through your calendar and your email. But I on the work-life balance, I think it's something you need to really create for yourself because you can get so, and I've definitely been burnt out, not here, but at other jobs where I I put myself on my old expectation lifestyle of like,
Mhm.
oh, I can work until 7. I can, because you don't have anyone else to really take care of
Yeah.
other than, yourself. Um, and so I don't really find most managers to be like, Wendy, you've been doing a lot of great work lately. Like, you should maybe not do so much. Like, it's really probably not going to happen. They're just going to love your output. And, hopefully the better ones are going to be like, you need to take some time off. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need to
We're very lucky.
self-regulate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're very lucky here at ServiceNow. I feel like that's a
Yeah.
golden initiative that we have is that take care of yourself before you burn out.
a
So
hundred
I think
percent.
that's
And
Yeah.
it's been
I love
so refreshing.
there.
the
And
self.
honestly, like being a parent is a full-time job. Like you
Oh,
can
so
never not be a parent, and it's going to be
Right.
your job probably forever. Like I think even when your kids are all grown and they have kids of their own, now you're going to be a grandparent,
Yeah. That's a
and
great point.
that still like carries on, So I feel like being
Mhm.
a parent honestly takes a lot of courage, especially in this day and age. And also having a full-time job, being a manager, that is just very impressive. So hats off to you. I can personally never do that, so I'm always amazed when I see someone else doing it.
Thank you. No, I I appreciate that. And the real kudos here is to single parents. Like,
Absolutely.
I
Oh, I
don't,
was gonna say, yeah,
it's
absolutely.
my mom was a single mom of 3 kids. And I
Wow.
just like sometimes think about like what she did and what
Mhm.
other, experiences I've heard of, friends and colleagues, with single parents. And I'm like, I
Right.
probably have it easy because I have, a spouse that helps and he's very helpful. And, but it's just setting expectations with yourself and knowing like you cannot do it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hopefully you have I service now, and I'm not, I'm really not saying this, been the best company I've ever seen in terms of work-life balance and how much to what
Absolutely.
your guys were just saying, like how much they emphasize
Hmm.
wellness and like there's all different sides and styles and flavors of wellness and it looks different to each person. But you know, I love that my management and ServiceNow as a company, like I've had to set clear expectations with my team of like between 4, which is like, coming up now, and you might even hear my kids come through the door. It's like feeding time at the zoo. It's like between 4 and 7, it's not that I don't want to be on. I literally cannot
Yes.
Right.
because it's like they
Got
come
that healthy balance.
home,
Hmm.
it's like I'm most times picking them up. They come home, they're hangry, they're tired, like they've
Yeah.
just been like kept up all day. And they come home and they're like, that's all when all the emotions come out. It's like literally like exorcisms on my floor happening. And it's like then you have like the bedtime and the bath and the bottle. And it's like I walk out of my son's room at 7, 7:30. And I'm not joking. I walk down the stairs and I'm like, holy, I usually have a swear word in there. And then I'm like, wow, that was a lot.
Right.
It's like so much. And so I'm just not super available. Like I do actually check Teams and like emails like during bath time and stuff like that. So if there's an emergency, like they can, and I hope my team knows they can call me. But it's
Yeah.
really like I hard to like be focused on work during the time because I literally am, and I know it'll change. Everyone's like, it'll get better. And I know it will, because when you have like more self-sufficient kids, it's not the same.
Yes.
But right
Mhm.
now it's tough. I will say my days are long and it's tough, but I'm glad I'm young because I'm doing it now because I would not want to do it
Yeah.
when I have like less energy. So it's fine.
No, absolutely. And again, thank you for being a great parent. I'm sure you are, and for contributing to the business. And thank you to all of the parents out there, because without you guys existing, we wouldn't have been here, literally. So,
Yes, I know.
so that's always awesome. To end it, to end this honestly amazing conversation with you, just some quick fun questions that we'd really like to ask people. Do you have a favorite movie, and what is that movie? And also, kind of adding to that, what's your regular favorite movie versus what's your favorite animated movie, if you have any? And
Oh,
since you have,
interesting.
you
Okay.
definitely have favorite animated movies. So please.
Okay. I put it as my favorite all-time movie. It's really the only one I could do quotes of because I've seen it so many times, is Mean Girls. It's just like a
Love,
classic.
love.
Yes. Yeah, love Mean Girls. It's such a
You
good
know,
one.
Awesome.
That's
that's so funny. I literally quote the part. No, that's okay. Never mind. Never mind. I was gonna say one of my favorite quotes from a movie is the one when in White Chicks, when they are in a fight and they mention the salad at the Barney's bar. I don't know if anyone knows this quote beside
Oh
me.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Very
something I always go. But yeah, keep going. So Mean Girls.
Mean Girls is great. I do love the Lord of the Rings series, all of those.
Hmm.
And I say that I mean, I've seen them all multiple times, but I say
Yeah.
Which
it
one's your
in,
favorite though?
I like the one with the dragon Smaug, Smaug, right? That dragon.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's maybe in The Hobbit, right?
Yep.
Okay. I love those movies because I've seen them so much or so many times that I can do other things like on the computer. I can do work if I'm doing like work after hours.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
shop. Like they're movies that like if you've seen them
Background noise,
once,
but you've seen them.
yes,
Yep.
but they're so good. And I love the like all of those scenes with the orcs. They're so scary. Those little
Nice.
guys, they're so scary, but they're not CGI. Like they were real. Like
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that
the
about those movies.
background's cool. Mm.
Yeah, so those are great ones. And then animated, I actually only recently, because of kids, the Cars movies are so fun. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I love
Those are
it.
so funny. So I've been getting into those just because my son
Definitely.
likes to
Definitely
go
go to
there.
Disney and actually go see the car, the actual car. They have Lightning McQueen's car at
Oh,
Disney.
Lightning. Oh,
Yeah,
what
it's
a
really
great guy.
cool.
And
I
Mater.
saw it in real life.
Oh, really? That's fun.
So, and then after you do that, you go to San Diego and visit Nasser and you get a tour there. So
Yeah.
Sign me up.
best of
Sign
both
me up.
worlds, you see, 2 hours away. Well, this has been just, I mean, I don't know how to sum up this. Maybe I'll use ChatGPT to summarize how I just this conversation, this podcast, this episode has been surreal. Absolutely humbled by this discussion. Wendy, thank you so much. Wendy, the Wonder Woman over here, giving us just incredible insights into mental health, being a mom, being a parent, really understanding what it's like to work in technology and taking breaks, right? Learning to say no, I think is a key takeaway here, and making sure you seek support so that you have colleagues like folks here on the call that we can lean on, especially when we're looking to maintain a healthy work-life balance. But thank you so much, Wendy. Nasser, I'll pass
Thank
it
you
to you if you have any
guys.
closing remarks, but I really, really appreciate you being on our podcast. Truly, truly grateful, and thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
Yeah, echoing everything Chris said, and I bet you just heard my dogs barking out of excitement for
Yep,
having
I did.
us here. So thank you so much, Wendy, for taking the time to entertain us here on the podcast and for being our guest. And please, just so that you know, you're always more than welcome to come back anytime to discuss any of the other topics you want to discuss on our podcast. Thank you again.
Well, thank you guys. So much fun. Thanks for having me. And I likewise enjoyed the conversation as well. So thank you.